This is how we marry traditional market gardening with the syntropic rows. So there's about a 5 metre space in between the trees, and we deliberated a lot over this. We originally did 3, but realised that the system will shade out too quickly. So we thought 5 and 3 rows with the option of doing a more perennial type plant down the centre one day. So you've got to think ahead. What are your options and what's the context of your farm? And what is your market? What can you sell? What grows easy? What's going to have the least amount of effort? And what's going to bring the best price? And are you going to be able to cope with the workload once you start harvesting plus managing your tree rows? So there's a few things you can do here. You can run, once these trees shade the rows out, well, obviously you can plant in shade loving crops, and that could be starting off with Asian, you can move to coffee, you can move to cacao, you can move to, I'm finding cassava is doing okay in the dappled shade. You might have some other ideas, but what will you be doing in 3 to 5 years when these trees double the height and are shading out your rows? So that's a little lesson we've had. Our experimental plot was 3 metres. We moved the trees out to 5, and I've seen plenty of other market garden systems that have gone out to 6 and 7 metres. So they actually have 4 crop rows in between. My theory is that these trees need to be a little closer so that one day they'll link up via the mycorrhizae fungi, and they can trade elements and minerals and signals and gibberellic acid amongst each other from row to row. That's my hope, that's my belief, and some soil scientists are saying that a system will take about 4 years to achieve that quorum, or what they call a quorum, where the trees are cooperating with each other. Now I can only imagine that the crops being planted, hopefully no-till, down the centre can benefit from the fertility being traded from row to row. So in this sense, it'll build up fertility while your veggies are growing. You're continually putting hay down in the walkways, or if you're not using the plastic weed mat like we do, you can hay the whole thing, and these plants grow just as well in thick hay as they do through plastic mulch. Now these are permanent mulch. We reuse this mulch over and over. It's not the film type where you use it once and throw it away, but you can see that it's left the plants very weed free, and this has saved a lot of labour cost for us by doing it this way. There's only 2 of us here with the occasional bit of help a couple of days a week, but wages are expensive, and so you've got to play your game a little smarter. So we don't get into days and days of weeding. If we do put hay on, we put it on pretty thick. So that would be at least 10 or 15 centimetres thick if we hayed these rows, and that works well too. But a lot of work. Now with the odd weed, most of these plants are weed free, and this saves us a lot of time, effort and expense. So you could hay these rows. Ideally, in the perfect syntropic scenario, you would be triple planting different species altogether, symbiotic species that work well together, vegetables that is, in these rows. And we played around with that in the past, as you know, on our previous videos. We've had various degrees of success, but in general, syntropy is about planting diversity, isn't it? And increasing the different types of roots in the soil and different populations of microbes. So if you plant a monocrop, you're going to get one set of microbes. You plant 5 or 6 different vegetables, you only get 5 or 6 different sets of microbes. The more diversity, the microbes. And perhaps fungi too. There are really millions of species. The scientists have only scratched the surface. But as mentioned in my previous video not long ago, just recently, the continual application of hay increases the carbon content. The more hay, the better. So that breaks down. It makes a lovely walkway, very soft to walk on. Keeps the soil moist. If you overwater, doesn't matter. It'll stay wet under the hay. Worms love it. It's got something to feed on. And it looks beautiful. So I'm very happy with this system. We'll continue. Perhaps on our next crop, we'll not use the plastic mulch. We'll go back to the thick hay, and we'll go back to multi-planting. And when I say triple planting, I find 4 species of veg is a little bit too busy. 3 species of veg with a taller, longer-lived plant down the centre and the shorter-lived plants along the outside edges, because we have 3 tubes, 3 drip tubes on these rows. Works well. But I have seen farms on YouTube that they are mixing 4 different species. There's a good one called Everoak Farm over in Florida there. Amazing young guy doing excellent work on his place, marrying all the elements. A little bit of tilling for cover cropping, but he's feeding his chickens over those. He's pushing his chicken tractors over those. And that leads me to another possible scenario. This can be used to feed chickens and introduce an egg business or a meat bird business into your farm. And that's indeed one of the intentions that we have long term. So right now we're enjoying the typical market gardening, classic market gardening system, while we've still got plenty of sun. But as you know, the trees will get pretty tall one day. They'll overwhelm it with shade, bit of dapple shade. Some things like it, a lot of things don't. You just got to run with it, roll with it, adapt, change your thinking. But have that in mind when you set out your distance between your trees. What will you farm in 5 years' time? You got to think about it. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, it all depends on your context, market, your labour availability, and what grows well in your area. So there's no one size fits all. We just have to work with what we got. Your weather, your soil, your labour market, your local markets, who you're selling to, the prices you're getting, and so on and so on. And this obviously led us to just growing a lot of broccoli this year for winter. So there's just some thoughts on why we have settled on this pattern. It could be 4 veg rows, it could be 5. That's entirely up to you. But we think we could use chicken tractors down here, and this distance between the trees for the particular chicken tractors we have in mind are ideal. So we'll likely introduce an egg business into the Syntropic system. Free fertiliser, keep the costs down, grow your own grains. Very easy, just a light till, a couple of inches on the top. Introduce your rye, sorghum, wheat, oats, and all sorts of other mixed cover crop seeds, and when they're ripe, just push your chicken tractors over them, and that'll keep your costs down. So if you've got any other ideas of what we could do through our alleyways, please let us know. I'm always on the hunt for new ideas. Got to keep an open mind in this game, in farming. You adapt or die in business, and that goes just as much for farming. So any great ideas of what we could do through these alleyways in the future, when they do get a bit shaded, say in 3 to 5 years' time, let us know. Jot it down. Let us know what you're playing with and experimenting with. We'd love to hear from you. So that's over and out for Farmer Jones. See you on the next one.